welcome to the PMI podcast. I'm your host, Gemma Penkethman, and today I'm joined by Amanda Barrett, who is a Senior Business Development Manager at April International. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very excited. It's my first ever podcast, so let's see
Oh,
where we go with it.
I love that. That's brilliant. Do you want to start us off then by telling us a little bit about your role and what you do for us as a network?
Yeah, of course. So I'm the Business Development Manager at April, and I've been with April International for just over 7 years now. So I have got to know quite a few of the advisors in the network quite well. I'm kind of the person that encourages people to sell international PMI. Or if they've got an international opportunity, they're not sure whether it's something that they can pursue or not, then I'm the go-to person, hopefully, that they'd pick the phone up to. And if I don't know the answers, then I've always got a whole network of people that sit behind me who I can call on, like underwriters and actuaries and compliance people, and I go away and find the answers for them and come back to them. And I'm also happy to support them if they want somebody that's got some international knowledge on calls if they're in front of a client. So
Yeah.
yeah, kind of an all-round international body.
The international go-to. I love
I,
it.
I hope I am.
So we're obviously going to be talking a lot about international PMI today. What for you, Amanda? What do you think is like the biggest misconception or like a mental block when it comes to selling IPMI?
So I think it's just the word international sometimes that people recoil from. And
Mhm.
my career actually started out in the domestic market. I won't tell you how long because then it's going to reveal my age and it's way, way, way back. But I worked at Aviva, and honestly, if anything came in with a country name on it, like Italy, or it said the word international, the this is back in the days when we had paper as well. So the lead, the opportunity, the piece of paper would be like left on people's desks, thrown around desks. It was like a hot potato. Nobody wanted to touch it because,
Oh
oh,
no.
it was international. It was international. But we had an international team at Aviva, and I used to think, oh, this international team, the really esteemed team on their pedestal. But a role came up in the team, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go for that. I don't know anything about it, but I know the domestic market and how hard can it be. So I jumped in feet first. I was successful in getting the role, and quite quickly learned that us international people like to pretend it's a lot harder than it is. So I was thinking, is this all there is to it? So that's not to say, there's some nuances and some complexities that don't exist in the domestic market, but I would always say don't be put off by thinking it's more complex than what it is, because there is a
Yeah.
little bit of emperor's new clothes going on with it with international in its simplest form. I guess if you're quite comfortable working in the domestic market uses the NHS as well. They link in together. They work hand in hand with each other. So
Yeah.
you need to see your GP, your NHS GP, to get your referral to push you into that private system. And of course, we use the NHS for things like having babies and routine scans and checks and A&E. However, if somebody isn't in the UK and they've got a private medical insurance, it falls down. It doesn't work because that NHS piece is missing. So all an international policy does, and all we sell in international, is it's like a combined product where if you took the NHS, you took a domestic product, you push them together and made kind of a super policy that you can pop in your pocket and sell anywhere around the world. um, you know that's what it is. You can use it in all the countries. You don't need the NHS to make it work, and that's international. So it's NHS and domestic pushed together, super product. So it's not that
Super
difficult.
product. I love it. I've never heard it explained that way before, but actually, that's a really good way of explaining it. And I love this term, super product. I think that's fantastic.
I think I've just made it up, but we'll go with it.
We're rolling with it. It's great. So, is there any sort of one question or topic or sort of point of conversation that you would tell advisors to mention when they're talking about IPMI?
So I think first of all, it's not so much a mention, although there are things which we like them to mention, which I will come on to. I'd say listen out for signals,
Mm,
because whilst the international policies was initially designed to be used overseas, they are actually very, very popular in the UK. And I guess if you think about foreign people that have settled in the UK, that have come into the UK and relocated here, they're used to fully private policies that cover everything. They don't quite understand the concept of the NHS, and needing to use the NHS and a domestic product. They struggle with that. So, I mean, if you've got an American that's set up camp in London, brought a family with them, it's a big tick, because not only is international PMI actually very cheap in comparison to what they pay over in the States, but it's a single solution where they don't need to use the NHS and then tap into a different
yeah.
domestic system. So they're a textbook case, really. So there's a lot of people that are British living in the UK that don't necessarily have travel patterns, that want to buy these policies purely because they're richer in benefits and because you don't need to use the NHS, which I'm a big fan of the NHS. My daughter works there. I think they do a great job. But I also know that there's, some big, big challenges in the NHS at the moment, and people are wanting to avoid using it if they can afford to do that. So, one of the things I would say listen out for is moans. When you've got clients that are moaning about they can't get in to see their GP, they're unable to access GPs in a timely manner, and maybe they're wanting to, go. Their wife wants to go privately into Princess Grace Royal Hospital, where Kate Middleton had her baby, and they want their wife to have that treatment. Or, there's a lot of private A&Es popping up throughout London as well now, and it's all very well having a top level of cover domestic product, but if you end up in A&E on a Saturday evening, you're still in A&E for 8, 9, 10 hours, along with, the rugby crowd, the drinkers. Whereas if you've got private A&E on your policy, it's a phone call, it's a jump in the car, head over there, and you're seen straight away. So there's things to listen out for. In terms of, things that you would say should they mention in their IPMI conversations, I'd always look to see, as particularly if you're working with a group policy that's on a domestic plan, do a quick Google search and see if there's other officers overseas that belong to that group. And if there are, the likelihood is that there's going to be directors that are travelling between offices, um, that could potentially be suitable for international policies. And while we're on the subject of directors, do any of the directors have holiday homes? Some people are fortunate enough to spend, maybe 6 months in Portugal, 6 months here in the UK. And in fact, we've come up against quite a few people where, particularly since COVID, which I know is a distant memory now, but a lot of people went off to holiday homes to work there. Then we've all become more globally mobile in terms of, the IT that we use. Everybody's works from laptops, and a lot more of us work from home now. People are staying overseas a lot longer than they used to. But what they are forgetting about is that their domestic policy doesn't cover them while they're out of the country. Or there may even be, some clauses in their domestic policy where they're not allowed to be out of the country for more than a
Yeah.
certain number of months. We had a particular director that had been spending more and more time. It was actually at a holiday home in Portugal, which is what's made me think of this. But he had a plan with a domestic insurer that found out that he was in Portugal for 6 months of the year and said they couldn't offer him cover anymore. So,
Oh, really? Wow.
and a lot of people will think, I've got my travel insurance, or if anything goes wrong, I'll jump on a plane and I'll come back to the UK. And it doesn't work like that. If you end up in accident and emergency overseas, you could end up with a very hefty bill. Not to mention, your general health care, your things like going to the dentist or the doctors or seeing a specialist. It's that they're things that aren't covered on travel insurance. So it's just
Yeah.
worth, listening out for signs, listening out for people moaning, just
Yeah.
doing a bit of homework. If you know your client, you'd probably know anyway whether they've got overseas offices. And also, who's insuring those people in that overseas office? Because is it something that we can look at doing?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, you make a good point with the NHS. I think a lot of people nowadays have got a story to tell about their waiting times or, a loved one that's had to wait in a corridor and things like that.
yeah,
So you've got the moans about the NHS, but then you've also got the opposite. I mean, like you said earlier, you love the NHS, you know someone that works within the NHS. And same for myself. I mean, I volunteered with the NHS for around 4 years. So for me, you've got the moans, but then you've also got the opposite of the moans, the people that are really passionate about the NHS and really love it, and as a result want to support it by putting in private medical insurance or international private medical insurance to take that pressure away from the NHS. And hopefully, the more and more people that do that, the more it kind of allows the NHS to recover as well. So it's got its real positives, not only for us, for the clients to be able to reduce their waiting times, but also to take that pressure off the NHS as well, which is crucial in its recovery, I think.
that's a really good point that you've just made because I think some people think that taking out private medical insurance, be it, domestic or international, is a snub to the NHS, but it's
Yeah,
actually not. It is helping them, it is doing them a favour. And the amount of, medical professionals and consultants that actually have international PMI policies, there's a lot out there that actually
absolutely.
specifically
Yeah,
do want an international policy. So, yeah, no, we're not dissing the NHS. We love the NHS. We're lucky to have it,
absolutely.
but it's we're lucky in that we have it, but other countries don't. So
Yeah,
it's there needs to be something that fills that gap. But people from overseas, they're quite used to paying for all of their medical treatment. We've
yeah,
become a bit spoiled in the UK, I think. But I think, yeah, it's free to go to the doctors. It's well, we used to get free dental treatment, I think, but yeah, that's changed. But no, it's we work hand in hand with them, so that's good.
yeah, absolutely. So Amanda, everyone that I talk to in healthcare, whether that's NHS, whether that's private healthcare, IPMI, domestic, whatever, everyone tends to have either a claim or a story that sticks with them. A bit like a good news story or a good example of where IPMI worked really well. So have you got a story you can share?
So IPMI policies, not only do they have the extra, the richer benefits in there, like the maternity and routine scans and tests and private A&E and the things that we've mentioned, they also have non-medical emergency cover. And I guess what you have to again try and visualize is this is probably more for people that aren't based in the UK. This is for people that have taken a policy out because they are traveling to more volatile countries.
Hmm.
Um, we have something called Crisis 24, and it's a network of people that are on the ground. It's a service that we buy into as a bolt onto the policy, but it comes as standard across all levels of cover. So anybody that buys this gets access to this. And this network of people, they're all made up of ex police, ex SAS, ex-army, and basically they're fixers. So if you like it, dramatic movies, picture this. I always envisage these people to be sat outside French cafes, smoking cigarettes, dressed in black, waiting for their mobile phone to ring. But they are a network and they're on the ground worldwide. So we can call on them when we need them. But they're there for non medical emergencies. So it's things like if there's an earthquake, if there's a terrorist attack, tsunamis, kidnappings, they get involved in, ransom negotiations.
Wow.
These people, they're at the coalface, they know what they're doing, and they're highly trained to go in and rescue people from situations. There's a story, which is a true story, which when I tell it, people don't believe it. So I'm just going
Oh,
to
I'm
tell it
excited.
anyway.
I'm excited for this now.
And we had a guy that was going out to China to do a business deal, and he was buying some fabric. But when he got there, the fabric wasn't up to scratch. There was, I don't know, I'm not a fabric expert, but I'm guessing there was flaws in it. So he was withholding part of the payment, and the business deal got a little bit heated. Off he went back to his hotel room, and then he got a knock on the door of his room, and he'd opened the door out into the corridor where he was surrounded by 6 or 7 people that were saying to him, obviously there's a lot of money involved in this, but they're saying we want the rest of the money that you owe us for the fabric. And he said, I'm not paying it. It's not the fabric I expected. And they said, well, we're going to give you so many hours. And if you don't, deliver this money, we're going to kill you. So the guy shuts
No.
the door and he's barricaded in his room, in effect, thinking, right, okay, what do I do now? But he actually remembered that he'd got Crisis 24 as part of his IPMI policy, and
God.
called the team to say, this is the situation. I've had a threat to life, basically, and I really don't know what to do now. But they're kind of waiting for me. They're out there. They've given me so many hours. This is the bit where it gets quite far-fetched, but it is genuinely true. You can check with Crisis 24. Crisis 24 organised a rescue operation, and they landed a helicopter on the roof of the hotel, and they took him out of the hotel window. So these people have got like local intelligence. They know what they're doing. They've got local intelligence, and they knew the people that he'd got involved in. They were very aware of them, very on their radar. They said, these are dangerous, dangerous people. They actually operate as part of the mafia here in this country.
Really?
And you would have not been seen again. You'd have disappeared off the face of the earth. So it's quite a dramatic story. It's quite, I want to use the word it's good fun, but it obviously wasn't good fun for that person in that situation. But it's an extreme example as well.
That's incredible.
It is, and it's true. But on a more, I guess, on a more day-to-day level, Crisis 24 also have an app that you can download on your phone, and then you can put in the country that you're in, and it pings through notifications, to tell you the road is closed 2 miles to the left for the next 2 hours, or really mundane things. So it's but it's like an up-to-date worldwide news bulletin. We've put it on our phones before and gone off on holiday, and it's quite tame. Although we did have someone that was on holiday in Jamaica, and they got a notification to say it's local elections. If you're going into Kingston today, don't wear anything. I think it was green or orange. I don't know what their political colours are. It said tensions are running high, and you could be perceived to be supporting a particular party. So little hot safety tips like that. But
That's really good. And I think, because people think about PMI as just being the medical side of things, but then obviously with IPMI and this Crisis 24 team, that's
yeah,
not medical, that's, crisis and local situations. And that can be really valuable, for anybody. I mean, I remember when I was in India once, and if I'd have had that app, it would have really, really saved me a lot of hassle. Because we went out, it's just me and my son, and he was only about 7 or 8 at the time. And we went out, and I was just, jollying along, thinking we were going to go and get an ice cream and have a bit of a shopping spree. And we ended up right in the middle of some kind of protest.
Oh
And it was
no.
to do with some conflict between India and Pakistan. And I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but it was quite it turned into quite an aggressive protest, and police were everywhere. And it was really scary. And as well as a parent with a young child with me at that time, I had to be calm for him, but we're in a different country where we don't speak the language. We didn't understand what the situation was that was going on. Didn't even know that it was a political protest. We just thought, oh my God, there's loads of police around and they've got guns and all of this, and what's going on. So just having the app would be so valuable, because I'm sure that's the kind of thing that it alerts you to on there,
Yeah,
like you've said.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally get where you're coming from with this, traveling with a child and being completely so frightened that I did something quite similar. I took my daughter to Las Vegas when it was her 21st birthday. We went on holiday together, and we took a day trip out to Hollywood. She wanted to go on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh yeah.
And I'd not done any research like you do. I'd just literally booked this day trip and got in this minibus, and then we got let out and got, so much time to yourself and get back on the bus at this time. So just so naive at actually how dangerous it could be. And one
Yeah.
thing I didn't look at is they have these people that hand you CDs as you're going down the boulevard saying, hey man, do you want to listen to my music? And they make out they're like giving them you for free. But then a bit further down, someone jumps out on you and tells you that they want money for it. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I don't want it. He's just gave it me up the road. But they turned really aggressive, and I mean really aggressive. And I'd give him the CD back. I know I'd actually thrown, this makes me sound bad, but I'd thrown it down into a pile of CDs that had
Yeah.
been thrown down. And this guy started to chase me, and he was shouting that he were going to kill me, he were going to shoot me. I actually wet myself a bit. I was so frightened. But you
I'm
know
not
what?
surprised.
When I researched it after, there were like warnings everywhere to not take these CDs off these people on the boulevard. And I'm like, why did I not like research that? And
Well, I mean,
these
do
are
you know
the
what?
warnings that you would get on a service like this, things to look out for as a tourist as well as being a traveller, which you just don't think or know about. But yeah, I thought I was
No,
going to get shot, but
I mean, again, yeah, another great example of where the app would work. But I'm going to make you feel a little bit better here and tell you that I actually paid for the CD.
oh,
Um, and this was on Muscle Beach. And yeah, I was part of that scam, and I paid for the CD. I didn't pay a lot for it, but I think I sort of, threw $10 at them to shut them up, kind of thing, because it's
yeah.
a scary situation. And let me tell you, Amanda, part of me, and this is super naive, on the walk back, I was thinking, well, you never know, the music might be all right. Well, can you guess?
Was there not anything on it?
There's a blank CD, of course
Oh
it
my, oh no. Oh, I'm glad I
is.
threw it back now. I
I
don't,
know.
the thing is, everybody that I've told this story to, they say, why did you not just pay for the CD? Obviously, being from Yorkshire, I'm a bit tighter than you. So that's, that must be what happened. But
Well,
yeah,
there you go.
I
Hopefully that
won't
makes
fall
you
for that
feel.
again.
No, exactly. um, so listen, I was thinking about a quick round of like myth or fact with IPMI, if you wouldn't mind helping me out with that.
Let's do it.
I'll just throw a couple of things at you and tell me whether it's a myth or a fact. So, first one, IPMI is only for people that travel a lot. Myth or fact?
Myth. So
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. it's for everyone. It's for people that are looking for richer benefits, more generous underwriting as well. So we have the flexibility of, I guess, if somebody wants to be fully medically underwritten and disclose all their pre-existing conditions, we try, where possible, to offer two premiums. So we can say, look, this is the price if you want exclusions on your policy and you're happy to not have these pre-existing conditions included, or this is the price and we'll cover those pre-existing conditions. So I think that's again something that's quite different to how the domestic market looks at pricing things. Um, yeah, you've got the freedom of choice as well. People will buy this just because they want the freedom to go to see any specialist they want to see, because we don't operate from a network at April International, so people can choose any specialist, any physio, any hospital, any consultant. They're well within their rights to jump on Eurostar and go and see a specialist in Paris if they wanted to, if they'd heard that he was the best in the world in that particular field. There's not those restrictions, so people like that freedom of choice as well. They don't necessarily need to be living abroad or traveling abroad. They can just buy it because they want those richer benefits and that flexibility and freedom of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the key differences, isn't it, between domestic or UK PMI and international, is that the benefits often do tend to be richer,
Yeah,
and there is often more flexibility. So just because it's got international in the title doesn't mean that you have to be traveling around internationally constantly. You may just choose this kind of insurance for the additional benefits and flexibility compared to a domestic policy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So second and last myth or fact, IPMI is really expensive. Myth or fact?
So this depends on who you're asking, I suppose, because everybody's got a different budget. If somebody's on a really tight monthly budget, and medical insurance is not necessarily on their agenda even, then the answer is going to be yes. But
Yeah.
if somebody has an understanding of domestic insurance and benefits that they receive for the premium that they pay monthly, then possibly no, because what if you throw in to the premium all the extras that you get, then it can work out that you're claiming for things that you might have been paying for out of your pocket anyway on your domestic policy. So we're talking about things like routine dental care would be covered on the policy. Um, there's optical benefits on some levels of cover, well-man checks, well-woman checks. I mean, the number of times when I worked in the domestic market that someone would call and say, does this cover a well-man check or a well-woman check? And no, it didn't. And if you wanted to go and book that, then you were looking at, 3, 4, 500 pounds in some cases. So those kind of things are included in international PMI on some of the levels of cover. And when you start, you know, ticking the boxes and making a bit of a list of things that you can actually claim for without being poorly, then it shifts. The pricing shifts a little bit in terms of value for money, because yeah, you are going to pay more, but at the same time you're actually going to be able to claim a lot more from it. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's really expensive. It can be. I would say it's good value for money.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point that you've made there because, for example, if somebody has a domestic policy, they're paying the premium for that every month. And then on top of that, they're paying for their dentist appointments twice a year, maybe more. And then they're paying for their glasses and their checkups with the optician. And then they're paying for a health assessment. Then all of a
Yeah,
sudden, that what they're actually spending on their health is a lot more than just the premium for their domestic PMI. So when you add all of that together, that could be the equivalent of an IPMI premium where all of those things are included.
exactly. And just to throw one more thing into the mix, Gemma. So all private GP appointments are all included, but also prescription charges. So if there's anybody, that's regularly I know it's only like £20 here and there, but they add up throughout the year. You've only got to get
Course
five
they do.
prescriptions, and bang another £100
Yeah.
to offset. So yeah, it can actually be advantageous for people to at least consider it, and then look at what's available for that money in terms of what they can claim.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Amanda, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for joining me. Unfortunately, I think that's probably all we've got time for. So it's goodbye from me, and goodbye from you as well, Amanda.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it too, and hope to see you and all the team soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on the PMI pod.